Close your eyes and picture this. Global power is no longer sitting in Washington, London, or Beijing. It's flowing out of Lagos, Nairobi, Accra, Cape Town. The news doesn't say Africa's rising. It says Africa leads. Not in the future, not someday. Now, it doesn't happen with a snap, but the signs? Oh, they start piling up. See, Africa's been holding the cards for decades. Gold, oil, lithium, cobalt, rare earth minerals, 90% of the planet's supply. The difference now? Africa stops exporting potential and starts building power. Raw materials no longer sent out for pennies. Instead, factories go up in Ghana and Zambia. Tech hubs bloom in Rwanda, giant refineries in Angola, innovation labs in Senegal, and South African fintech, it's running global transactions smoother than Wall Street ever did. People stop saying Silicon Valley. Now it's Silicon Savannah. Then comes the soft power wave. Nigerian music becomes the soundtrack of Earth. WizKid, Burna, Thames, that's just the tip. Now the world is dancing to rhythms they used to ignore. Lagos Fashion Week sell out before Paris. TikTok dances start in Kinshasa. Streaming charts are full of Ghanaian web series and Somali documentaries. Hollywood starts copying. Because if they don't cast African stars, their ratings drop. Simple as that. The world's finally paying attention. But this time, Africa's not asking. It's setting the pace. Now here's where the shift gets serious. Mega cities rise, but not built by foreign aid or imported firms. Built by African companies. Designed by African architects. Funded by African billionaires. Electric trains fly across the Sahara. Solar farms power entire regions. Refugees? There aren't any because there's no need to run. In fact, migration reverses. Students from Europe are applying to the University of Nairobi. Startups in Canada are begging for a Nairobi office. Even Americans? Dreaming of life in Ghana. Imagine that. And then, policy catches up. The UN adds permanent African seats to the Security Council. The G7 becomes the G21, with 5 African presidents holding weight. Global currencies wobble until a unified Africoin steps in. Stable, transparent, backed by minerals, not politics. The US and China? They now have to convert to African credits to trade. Banks in London offer services in Naira and Rand. Western news stations scramble. Pundits panic. Is Africa taking over? But they're asking the wrong question. Because Africa doesn't want to take over. It wants to take its place. Fairly, equally, fully. This isn't domination. It's balance. And nothing makes the old world more nervous than balance. By now, the shift isn't up for debate. The power centers of the world are no longer built in marble and glass across European capitals or DC corridors. They're humming in Kigali, shining in Addis Ababa, strategizing in Abuja. Africa isn't asking for a seat at the table anymore. Africa built a new table, and of course, the old powers don't take it well. Former colonizers feel the pressure. Their military bases across Africa, quietly, asked to leave. Trade deals once dictated in Brussels or London, now renegotiated in Nairobi on Africa's terms. Western media loses the plot. Headlines scream, will Africa replace the West? Is the global order under threat? But while they run fear campaigns, Africans just keep building. They're not looking for revenge, they're looking for respect. And that subtle difference, it's enough to shake the foundation of old empires. Here's the truth. Africa didn't get rich because someone let it. It got rich because it changed the rules. Corruption, pushed back, education, skyrocketing, borders, less walls, more bridges. African nations stop fighting over scraps and start investing in each other. Young people take over tech. The diaspora returns not just to visit, but to stay, to build, to lead. Suddenly, Africa isn't the world's underdog. It's the blueprint. Now imagine growing up in a world where Africa isn't a charity case, but the gold standard. Kids in Senegal dream of launching satellites. Teenagers in Malawi are coding AI models for agriculture. The richest people in the world? Not oil barons or tech moguls, but farmers who scaled regenerative land, innovators who solved water access, musicians who empowered villages. Africa's universities aren't just teaching, they're exporting ideas. And when global crises hit, it's African doctors, scientists, and engineers flying out to help. Because leadership isn't about dominance anymore, it's about contribution. Let's get real for a second. History hasn't been fair to Africa. From colonization to exploitation, the narrative has always been written by someone else. But in this new chapter, Africa writes its own. It's no longer developing, it's defining, and the world, forced to adjust, to translate into African languages, to learn from African solutions, to admit that the future isn't happening to Africa anymore, it's happening because of Africa. So, what if Africa became the richest continent on Earth? Not through conquest, but through unity, innovation, and purpose. A world where power is shared, where culture is celebrated, not copied, where the question isn't can Africa lead, but rather, are we ready to follow? If that future excites you or challenges you, say something below. Let's talk.